Hello, this is Josh Rubin from East West Healing and Performance. Today we're going to be talking about H.Pylori, Helicobacter pylori. It's a bacterium. The reason I'm covering this topic, and I'll be covering many more, it's because it's quite common nowadays, and most people don't know they have it unless you do a test for it. Okay? So what is H. pylori? H. pylori is a bacterium, and it basically lives in your stomach. It's a corkscrew shape, and it's actually, believe it or not, the most widespread bacteria in the world. Okay? Unlike other bacteria, it's able to survive in very acidic conditions. That's why it basically lives and thrives in the stomach. Okay? But the thing is, it actually neutralizes stomach acid. That's why it can live there. Okay? A long-term infection of H. pylori can lead to many direct and indirect symptoms that can cause doctors to pretty much be puzzled. And we see this all the time at East West Healing and Performance. So what does H. pylori do? It basically buries itself in the lining in the stomach and causes the stomach to become inflamed. Okay? This causes stress to your immune system, and it causes your adrenal glands to basically release cortisol, which is a catabolic hormone. Okay? The interesting thing is that cortisol talks to every cell in your body. So too much cortisol release can affect every cell, okay, and every receptor site in every part of your body. That's why some of the symptoms can be widespread versus just stomach, okay? It's actually known to be the main cause of peptic ulcers, okay? These are ulcers that are in your stomach and your small intestine. It's actually the main cause of gastritis and also believed to be the main cause of stomach cancer. You know, I'm not quoting this off of any website. I'm actually just giving you my feelings and my opinion on this from working with people. I'm not diagnosing. I'm just giving you my experience of clients that I've worked with. Some other common symptoms include heartburn, acid reflux, diarrhea, mouth infections, sore throat, dizziness, and vomiting. Okay, you can have all these, one or the other. Okay, but don't just take one of these symptoms and say, "Well, I have H. pylori." Okay, it's just another piece of the puzzle where if your doctors or whoever you're working with is completely puzzled what you have, you know, maybe we need to start testing for a bacterium to see what's in there. Okay. Because H. pylori increases cortisol levels, it can also cause a range of symptoms, you know, somewhere else that doctors really won't think of, okay, or linked to the H. pylori, which is basically weight gain or weight loss, extreme tiredness, low energy levels and vitality, depression, anxiety, PMS, and there's much more, okay? Your hormones are, anytime you release any hormone from stubbing your toe, you know, you can see our thing on stress on our YouTube clip, eating sugar, having a parasite infection, you release certain hormones. All these hormones can cause widespread symptoms. If you have H. pylori in the stomach, it doesn't mean you're going to have just stomach symptoms. If you're releasing cortisol, cortisol is a catabolic hormone. It's a fat-storing hormone. Okay? Tissue breakdown and weight gain over long periods of time if your body doesn't stop reducing it. At the same time, you can have chronic inflammation from that. At the same time, a lot of the hormones that produce cortisol also produce progesterone. So if you have long-term chronic stress and you're overproducing cortisol, you will for sure have a female hormone imbalance, and that's where the PMS comes into play. Okay? So how do you know if you have it? Well, there's so many tests out there. At East West Healing, we do basically a stool test. We feel that's the most comprehensive test. Most doctors will do breath or blood. They think that's the most comprehensive. In my opinion, they only do that because that's what insurance will only pay for. Okay? The blood antibody test, okay? If you become infected with H. pylori, which it's typically from raw chicken, raw eggs, and now research is showing from sexual fluids, like if you're, you know, having sexual contact. So those are the three ways you can get it, okay? If you get infected with it, you basically start producing a lot of antibodies to fight the bacterium, okay? So the blood antibody test basically tests for the antibodies. That's all it's testing for. However, okay, you can always get a false positive on blood tests, okay? If the antibodies, you know, these antibodies can be present for up to 3, 4, 5 years, even if the infection is gone, okay? And they might prescribe you drugs. So they might show that you have the antibodies, but you don't have the H. pylori anymore, and they'll give you drugs which causes gastrointestinal problems. You know, drugs aren't linear, so it's going to cause widespread problems. So blood antibody tests, in our opinion, are not that accurate because all it's telling you is if the antibodies are present. It's not telling you if H. pylori is present, okay? So that's the first test. The urea breath test, which is very common, it's a very simple test. A lot of leading experts use this test. Once again, we don't use this test. We find that this test a lot of the times pretty much misses the bug. Okay? It's only effective in severe cases or really acute cases, but in most chronic cases where that's typical with most people because we usually go to the doctor until something's really wrong, this breath test typically misses it. Okay? So it's okay, but it's not the best. A stomach biopsy is another one. Okay, this is the third one. This is when they go into the stomach and the small intestine, use an endoscopy, and they take a little piece of the stomach to biopsy it to see if you have H. pylori. Well, H. pylori lives in the patches, or it actually it burrows itself into the stomach lining. So a lot of the times, these stomach biopsies will miss the actual area where the H. pylori is. So once again, is it good? Yes, but if they don't hit the area of inflammation or where the H. pylori is, this isn't a good test. The stool antigen test, okay? An antigen is actually a foreign invader. It's H. pylori. So what this does is, it's a stool sample. Depends on which lab you do. You can do a single stool sample. You can actually do a 4-day stool sample. That's the positive of this. So we're actually getting many stool samples, many aspects of the colon to see if you have it. The test can be done at the comfort of your own home. And we're testing for if you have H. pylori. Not if you have the antibodies, things like that, which is if your immune system's attacking it, but we're seeing if you actually have H. pylori. We find this is the most comprehensive lab that you can do. We use Biohealth Diagnostics, we use the single H. pylori lab, or a comprehensive 401H. It's called the 401H lab, okay? So those are the simple tests that we use. There's some other common parasites that are correlated with H. pylori. So a lot of times we do the comprehensive test because if you have H. pylori, you commonly have other parasites. Other parasites you commonly see are Blastocystis hominis, Giardia, Cryptosporidium, Entomoeba histolytica, E. coli, and Candida, which is fungus. So if you have those, you want to make sure you test for H. pylori. If you have H. pylori, you want to make sure you test for those other parasites in fungus, okay? Because if you just treat one, you're still going to have the symptoms, okay? That's why we do the comprehensive test. So what do you do? What do you do if you have all these symptoms? What do you do if you have chronic heartburn and acid reflux and migraines, which is very common, okay, because of the cells of the stomach that the H. pylori actually goes after. It actually goes after the cells that produce hydrochloric acid and it neutralizes them, okay? So you actually become hypochlorhydric, not producing enough acid. And this is why most people in our society get acid reflux and heartburn. It's not from too much acid, it's from not enough. What if you have diarrhea and bloating, which is very common, you can't digest your food? You have fatigue and low energy and chronic headaches and you're nauseous all the time. You have unexplained weight loss or unexplained weight gain. You have chronic hormonal symptoms and chronic weight gain from hormonal imbalances. You have chronic depression and anxiety that won't go away and you're using maybe SSRIs or natural antidepressants. You have chronic oral infections and gum disease and your tongue is coated all the time. You have sinus problems. What do you do? Well, this is what we do at East West Healing and Performance. There's many other symptoms. You can go to our blog. It's on our website at eastwesthealing.com. It's in the upper right-hand corner. It's called Holistic Health Blog. The actual link is eastwesthealing.com/blog.html. Just type into the search engine on our blog H. pylori and you'll see many posts on H. pylori and the many symptoms and how to treat it. What we do is when we get the lab, once we get the results, we refer them out to an osteopath that we use named Dr. Camp. He actually looks over the labs. He actually writes a prescription called PrevPack, okay, and it's a 2-week antibiotic prescription specifically for H. pylori. He writes them the prescription, calls it into their pharmacy. They do this prescription for 2 weeks, and then what we do is we put them on a 3-month protocol of a herbal protocol called Mastic Gum, MASTICA gum, okay, and another supplement called BioHPF from a company called Biotics. So we use Mastic Gum from Algae Research Group and BioHPF from Biotics. We use these 2 herbal supplements over a 3-month period, and then from there, they're pretty much golden. So if you want to learn more, please give us a call, an email, check out our blog, our website, eastwesthealing.com to learn more.